Ever get that feeling like there's got to be more to reality than, what we see, like something deeper going on? Well, today we're going to take a deep dive into a concept that says, yeah, maybe there is. It's the idea that everything, and I mean everything, is information.
Yeah, this idea has been around for ages. Like way back in Buddhist philosophy, they were already thinking about this stuff.
Right, and what's wild is that now modern physics is starting to point in the same direction.
Exactly, especially when you look at stuff like the holographic universe model. Makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does. So we're going to kick off this deep dive with this document I found. It's called, well, shishishiz, that's Chinese for everything is information.
Interesting.
Yeah, it reads like someone's notes from a conversation, kind of weaving in ideas from the Suringama Sutra, which, as you know, is like a major text in Buddhist thought. We're going to try to connect the dots between this and some concepts in quantum physics. Buckle up.
Sounds like a wild ride.
It might just be, so here's the thing, this deep dive, it's not just some intellectual exercise. This could actually change how you see yourself and the world, like how powerful your thoughts really are and how we're all connected.
It's all about perspective.
Exactly. Okay, so the source we're looking at, it uses this analogy of a thought being a stone you drop in water.
Ah, yeah, I know what you mean. Creating those ripples.
Right, and each ripple is like a wave of information, spreading outward, carrying energy, moving in a specific direction.
Yeah, I like that.
So then even tiny thoughts, like fleeting thoughts, they have some kind of impact.
I think so.
Sounds kind of like the idea of karma, where actions have consequences.
You know what? That's a great point. Because karma, it's not about like some mystical punishment system, right? It's more about realizing that every thought creates these ripples. And those ripples, well, they can come back to us like a boomerang in a way. What you send out, eventually, it returns.
Okay, that makes sense. But how does all of this connect to everything being, well, information? It still sounds pretty abstract to me.
Well, in the document, it says, because of movement, there is sound, and because of sound, there is form, which ties into the holographic principle, right? Like everything we see, everything we are, all comes from vibrations, from waves. And what are waves? At their core, they're information. It's the information that shapes the reality that we experience.
So instead of thinking about like solid objects, it's more like everything is a symphony of vibrations, like music creating reality through sound. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah, something like that. And it's wild how this idea from, ancient times, it actually kind of lines up with what we're discovering in quantum physics. At the most basic level, the universe isn't really made of, like, solid stuff. It's more about vibrating energy fields and information.
Okay, now this is where the source gets really interesting. It tells this story about the Buddha and an incident involving barley. Have you heard this one?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and it illustrates this whole idea about how our thoughts, actions, and consequences are all woven together.
Right. It all starts with a monk, right?
Yeah, so this monk is feeling kind of jealous and arrogant towards the Buddha. It was like harboring these negative thoughts.
And that, according to the source, that plants a seed of information.
Right, like a seed of information. And instead of, just keeping it to himself, the monk starts expressing these thoughts, like saying harsh words.
Ah, so it's like that seed starts to sprout. And it's growing through his actions, his speech.
Exactly.
Makes you think.
And then because of karma, this whole principle of cause and effect, what happens, the monk ends up having to eat barley, a food he doesn't like, for the rest of his life.
Wow.
I know. So it's not just that our thoughts are locked away in our heads, right? It's like they ripple outwards, gain momentum through our actions, our words, and ultimately they influence what happens around us.
I think that's the key takeaway.
It's like our intentions, all charged with emotion, get expressed through action, and they like force these waves of possibilities into certain outcomes. And it's funny, it's kind of like the idea of wave function collapse in quantum physics.
Interesting.
Hold on, are you saying there's like a connection between Buddhist philosophy and quantum physics? How does that even work?
It's not that they're like exactly the same, but there are some interesting parallels. Yeah. Like in quantum physics, you have this particle that exists as like a wave of possibilities, right? Until it's measured or it bumps into something. And then, bam, it collapses into a definite state. Like the act of observing kind of forces it to make a choice,
Well, so you're saying our thoughts and action, they're like that observation. Like we're shaping these waves of possibility into, well, the reality we experience.
Makes you think, right?
It really does.
And, the source actually brings up another example. It's about a nun who gets so angry that she calls someone a dog.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And later on, guess what? Because of her bad karma, she ends up being reborn as a dog. These stories, I think, they show how powerful our thoughts and intentions can be. They shape our experiences.
That's kind of, I don't know, fatalistic. Like, are we just puppets to our thoughts? What about free will and all that?
Oh, no, it's not about determinism at all. It's more about realizing that we're responsible, right, for our thoughts and actions.
Okay, so we're not just like passively receiving information.
Nope.
We're active participants shaping it.
Absolutely.
Okay, I see. I'm starting to get how this ties into the whole holographic universe idea. Can you remind me how that fits into all of this?
So the holographic principle, it basically says that every little piece of the universe, it contains info about the whole thing.
Whoa, like every little piece.
Yeah, it's like you take a tiny fragment of a hologram, but that little piece still holds the image of the entire object. You know what I mean?
So even I contain information about like the entire cosmos.
Exactly.
That's incredible. And kind of freaky too, you know?
Right. It definitely changes your perspective.
It does.
And the source goes even deeper into this. Like it talks about how even basic elements, earth, water, fire, air, all that stuff, they can be broken down.
Oh, yeah.
Into molecules, atoms, and then at the most fundamental level, waves.
And those waves, the source says they come from the vibrations of our thoughts. It's like our thoughts are the music of the universe, the fundamental music, I mean. But if there are so many thoughts, like, wouldn't it just be chaos?
Oh, it definitely is a dynamic mix, a complex interplay of information for sure. But here's where intention comes in.
Okay.
The source talks about home or experi, which basically means intention or mental force.
Okay.
And this acts like a sculptor, shaping these waves of information.
So like our intentions are the filter for all this raw information. They guide how it all becomes our own personal reality.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just about passively receiving information, it's actively participating in its creation. Our thoughts, fueled by intention, shape not only our own experience, but they contribute to the collective reality we all share. The reality we all experience together.
You know what? I've actually noticed that. Like when I approach something with a clear intention, a positive mindset, things seem to flow better. It's like tapping into a different energy or something.
That's it. That's Kuno in action. But, there's a flip side too.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, if our thoughts are so powerful, what happens when we're thinking negative stuff? Like fear, anger, all that self-doubt stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of scary. Does that mean we're constantly risking manifesting bad stuff just by having a bad thought?
That's where this Buddhist concept of NO comes in. It means false creation.
False creation, okay.
Yeah, it refers to these distorted wave patterns. They come from misguided thoughts, thoughts clouded by negativity and illusion. Think of it as a bad note in that cosmic symphony.
So instead of this beautiful, harmonious music, we get dissonance.
Exactly.
But how does that play out in our lives, practically?
Well, according to the principle of karma, these messed up wave patterns from Sino eventually lead to, you guess it, negative consequences.
Oh, no.
Though it's just natural cause and effect. Like if you plant poison ivy, you can't expect to, get roses.
Right. That makes sense. But it's still, I don't know, daunting. Do we have to constantly police our thoughts, make sure we never have a bad one?
It's not about being super strict with yourself, It's more about just noticing.
Noticing.
Yeah, noticing those negative thought patterns. As they pop up, just acknowledge them, but without judging yourself, right? And then you can choose to shift your focus, towards something more positive, more helpful.
So instead of trying to squash every negative thought, it's more like gently steering our minds in a better direction.
Exactly. And remember, we talked about this earlier. It's all connected.
Oh, yeah, the interconnectedness of everything.
Giant tapestry.
That brings us back to the whole holographic universe, where even the tiniest part, it has info about the whole. But if it's all connected, doesn't that make it even more, I don't know, overwhelming? To think about how much impact our thoughts and actions have.
It could feel like a lot, yeah. But what if instead of feeling overwhelmed, we changed our perspective?
Okay.
Recognizing how interconnected everything is, it actually gives us power, right? It means we can be conscious participants. We can help shape reality. And I think really it's a call to action, to choose our thoughts and our intentions wisely, not just for ourselves, but for everyone.
This deep dive has definitely been a lot to process.
Yeah.
We've explored how thoughts create those ripples of information, how they all interact, and how our intention can guide things. But I gotta be honest, I'm still kind of grappling with this whole everything is information idea. What does that actually mean? Like in real life?
Well, it means realizing that what we experience, our reality, it's a reflection of the information we put out there.
Oh, okay.
Like if we want to experience more joy, peace, abundance, all that good stuff, we got to cultivate those things inside ourselves first. It starts with us.
So it's like our thoughts, words, actions, they're like seeds, right? That we're planting in this fertile ground of consciousness.
Exactly. And just like a gardener, a good gardener chooses the best seeds, they care for the soil, they tend to their plants. We can do the same with these principles. Information, karma, intention. We can create a better reality for ourselves and for everyone.
Wow, well, that's really beautiful. It's like we have this incredible set of tools, right? But it's up to us to learn how to use them.
I think so, yeah. And the first step is awareness. Paying attention to our thoughts, feelings, motivations, all of it. Noticing the stories we tell ourselves, what we believe in, the energy we're sending out.
So it's about being more mindful, more aware of how our thoughts and actions impact us and the world around us.
Absolutely. And as we become more aware, we can start making better choices. Choices that line up with, our values, our dreams, our desire to make the world a better place.
This whole conversation has been, well, eye-opening. Like it's given me a whole new way of seeing things, the power of my own thoughts and how we're all connected. And honestly, it's pretty empowering too.
It is, isn't it? It reminds us that we're not just watching this all happen. We're a part of it. We're co-creating reality.
Well, that's a great place to wrap things up, but we want to leave you with something to think about, a question to ponder as you keep exploring these ideas. If your thoughts shape reality, what kind of reality are you creating with your intentions?
Let that be your guide as you navigate the world with all its information, karma, and intentions. Because the power to make things better, more compassionate, more meaningful, it's within all of us.